What's going on, guys? In today's video we're going back to the basics and some steps to consider before building a dedicated home theater room. But before we get into it, if you like content about home theaters, general tech reviews and gaming, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified on my future videos. Let's play that intro. So step 1. Location. Location is one of the most important subjects before even thinking about budget. The ideal space for a dedicated home theater is around 6 meters in length with 4 meter wide and relatively isolated from the rest of the house. If you're in a single story home, make sure the room is away from your living room and bedrooms, etc. You don't want to annoy anyone or disturb your neighbors if the room is relatively close to their property. If you have a 2-story house and the bedrooms are upstairs, I would recommend build the room downstairs, as building the room upstairs can be tricky and will need a lot of work. And if you happen to have a basement, that would be the best space for a dedicated home theater room. I had no choice to build this room on the 2nd floor because of recent renovations and the 1st floor layout of this house. Let's move on to the 2nd step. Your 2nd step is your framework and insulation. When you're building the shell of your home theater, you need to think of it as another addition to your home, with paying extra attention, especially to insulation. Like I mentioned before, even though it can be away to one side of the house, it still needs to be insulated to absorb the sound and not to shake the house. Note to self, make sure all the framework has been nailed and screwed in properly. With my build, I came across so many minor issues that the builders hadn't done properly, and I had to remove and fix things. If you're building a riser for a 2-stage seating, also note to insulate inside the shell and follow the standard required specs and measurements for the height and footsteps of your riser. One minor tip to add: for those who are building a new 2-story home, make sure you avoid running any sort of plumbing work above the room, such as hot water pipes, etc. Now, if you live in Australia, the standard rating of R3.1 insulation bats for the floors, ceilings and exterior walls is what's recommended. But you can use lower rated insulation depending on your budget, as long as you seal the room properly. And if you feel the need for more absorption, after the room is completed, you can simply add some insulated panels hanging on the wall to eliminate noise and echo. But take note, sometimes having too much insulation can affect the sound quality in the room. If you're not sure about this process, it's best to get an idea from your local home theater specialist store for more detailed advice. Let's move on to the 3rd step. Step number 3 is pre-wiring your speakers and equipment. A few years ago, most Blu-ray 1080p quality movies used 5.1 channel surround sound setup, but nowadays you have 8K quality display technology that are pairing with high audio technology, which recent movies that are being released in 4K cities are minimum of 7.1 channel surround. This includes 1 subwoofer and 7 channel speakers, your left, your right, your center, 2 surrounds and 2 re-surrounds. Some home theaters now use 9.1 channel surround sound. This adds another set of speakers on top of your seating on the ceiling for that overhead sound experience, like the sound of raindrops or any objects flying. Pre-wire the speakers. You'll need to mark the location where each speaker will go, such as the center channel being just about or below the viewing screen, left and right speakers on either side of the screen at ear height, side surrounds on the side walls right next to your seating at ear height also, and your rear surrounds on the back wall, roughly around 60 centimeters away from the seating. Last but not least, the 2 overhead Dolby Atmos speakers being mounted approximately 60 centimeters in front of your seating and being faced towards you. If you're thinking about having a riser for front and rear seating, you will need to rearrange the speakers according to your setup. Now, these measures can be adjusted according to the dimensions of your room and type of speakers you have. If you need more information regarding this, there are plenty of online guides, and I recommend do a lot of homework before purchasing your surround sound speakers and in the process of pre-wiring stage before you install the drywall. You also need to choose a spot for your receiver and other equipment to run audio cables. from the hub to each speaker location. Use cables at least 12 gauge for the speakers, and I do recommend the Monster brand, which I think are high quality for their price. Be sure to also pre-wire the hub with your antenna cable as well as high-speed internet cable for streaming. Move on to the fourth step. The fourth step is pre-wiring the projector. For a large screen cinema experience, you'll need a projector. Pre-wiring for this involves two cables, an HDMI cable to carry high definition video to the projector from the receiver, and a Cat5 control wire. Even if your setup doesn't involve 4K resolution experience, there's no harm in future-proofing while everything's open. I recommend running two cables of 4K HDMI cables through a conduit just in case one fails in the future. That way you can simply replace things without the cable getting stuck in places when you're removing it. Also note, you will need to mark the location of your projector because it will need to be mounted onto a strong timber beam of some sort. The fifth step is to pre-wire all your electrical power points and lighting. Lighting is a very important part of your home theater room. Now it can be a modern with LED strip lighting or more classic look like sconces on the walls. Even if you're building a reset ceiling feature, run all those basic wirings to each of those locations, or else it will be a nightmare after when it's completed and you'll have to remove and cut things and mess up the drywall and repaint things. It's just a mess. Now for me, I like voice recognition and smart technology. So even wiring all your lights to smart devices and controlling them with your voice or your phone will be pretty cool. That means you'll need smart sockets and smart switches and lighting, etc. Having this kind of system allows you to auto dim the lights when a movie is played, or a certain lights turning on and off before and after the movie is finished or turned on. If you're planning to have a riser or a stadium seating, you also need floor step light wiring. So prep and note all these little features. Planning is key. Moving on to the last step, drywall process. When drywall is being installed, please make sure you're present at the time. When hanging the drywall, you'll need to carefully make a small hole through it to feed all your pre-wired electrical and audio cables. And if you're getting someone else to do it and they miss something or don't know where things go, then you'll be in big trouble and will need to make bigger cuts and nightmare starts. And I mentioned before, if the room requires additional soundproofing, you can also choose a drywall specially made for sound reduction, but can cost up to 5 times more than your standard drywall. And to finish it off, you can use a solid core entry door to seal the room nicely. After these 6 steps are completed and have painted the room, wiring your speakers, projector and equipment is pretty simple stuff. Make sure you have chosen the correct screen for your room size as well as your watching distance. For a minimum viewing distance of a 125-inch screen would be around 3.5 meters. For finishing touches such as flooring, I prefer carpet, as it can also eliminate sound and vibration from the subs, and you don't have any funny noises like you would if you had timber flooring. Last but not least, choose some comfortable seating, add some decor to your room, sit back and enjoy the show. There it is guys, simple steps to consider and think about before building a dedicated home theater room. If this video helped you in any way, or I have missed something, or you enjoyed this video, please comment on the section below. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on social media, HStudio 3.0. That will mean a lot to me. It will help me a lot. I'll see you guys in the next one. Happy building. Peace.